I'm not even sure how to say this. I've been trying to figure out a way to share this and convey this message or how this looks. One part of me is excited to let you guys know and excited for the future and change. The other side of me is scared to death and just need to keep reminding myself that God has my back. It's going to be how it's going to be, and I just need to have that faith. But it starts with two words. I'm unemployed. Yeah. Wow. And in this video, not only will I tell you what I was doing for the last 7 years, where I worked, what I'd done on a day-to-day basis, but I also have some video clips of that. But I have a bigger story to tell. I'm sure I'm going to title it something along the lines of toxic workplace, something along those lines, because this has caused me so much mental anguish. This has fucked with me, not only mentally, but physically. This has been one of the worst things that I've went through in my entire life, and I've been through a lot. You find yourself stuck in this rut, between this rock and hard place. The rock being the fact that you have a family to take care of, a mortgage to pay, kids that rely on you, food that you have to buy, your day-to-day essentials, just survival. And the hard place being a work environment where you're being taken advantage of and disrespected on a daily basis. That's been my reality for 7 years. And I'm glad to say that I'm finally free of that. I want to make this perfectly clear. In no way, shape, or form am I doing this video to get people to call and harass and bother these people, email them, mess with their Google reviews. I don't want any of you to do that. And if I find out somebody did that, I will block you. I will personally come after you for it, because at the end of the day, you're not hurting me by doing that. And you're not even hurting this asshole that put me through 7 years of hell. You're hurting the customers. And you're hurting these employees that are still there, which ain't many. 5 other people walked away the day I did. So the people that are left there, they're already struggling enough. They already have enough on their plate trying to work twice as hard, 4 times as hard to make up for how many people, a mass walkout, if you will. But they're also still there in this toxic environment. So the last thing they need is losers from the internet calling and just making their day worse. I just want to make it perfectly clear that those are not my intentions. I don't want to cause this business any harm. I don't want to cause this business any issues whatsoever. That's never been my intention. I didn't spend 7 years of my life stressing every day, working 10, 12 hours, 13 hours a day, ensuring that every customer was happy, satisfied, taken care of, and everything was great, to just sit here and make a video to try to ruin all of that. Again, I am no longer employed. I am an unemployed bum right now, and not sure what that means for my future. But I do know that this is the start of a new beginning. Wherever life takes me from this point forward has to be better than where I was. I've ended up in the hospital on several occasions with over-stressed issues. I've already got an underlying heart issue, and none of this was helping. It doesn't matter how much money you make, if you're killing yourself to do it, and you have a boss that expects way more out of you and disrespects you and doesn't even have enough courtesy to understand the fact that they're overloading you. You got to get out. And that's really my hope at the end of the day, that this video does help somebody. Hopefully somebody sees this and they recognize that they've been stuck in a cycle too, and this is the motivation they needed to get out. And I've hinted for years about I need to make a change, and I finally done it. And boy was I right about how toxic this guy was that I worked for. Matter of fact, this was the last day of being near him. I had a camera on my chest to protect myself. And, well, meet my old boss.
God damn you motherfucker. Seriously?
Yeah, that was me. He was god danging and calling him MFer. And we'll get into that. But what did I do? What was James doing? People think I was a truck driver. People think I was a plumber. People thought I owned my own business. I have people think that I was a drug dealer for some reason. And I get it because I was vague, right? I was talking to a guy in particular, and he's like, "What is it you do?" And I was like, "Man, I can't tell you." And the reason I said that is because it's the internet, right? And I was like, what I will say, though, is I go to people's homes, and I sell them stuff. And he was like, "Oh, you're a drug dealer." No. Man, this is weird. I spent 7 years. The same amount of time that I've been working on this YouTube channel is pretty much the exact same time that I worked for this company. And I spent so much time in editing. I mean, just red-eyed, 1 in the morning, watching every clip, every frame by frame of the video to ensure that I didn't pan around and show one of my work shirts. Ensure that I didn't have a reflection in the glass of my work van in the driveway. So going as far as digitally removing logos from pictures like this one, where I'm sitting on the balcony in Nashville drinking a beer on a rooftop bar. Or this picture that I shared as my father was passing away. Digitally removed the name of the company off of my shirt. I've spent a lot of effort and time ensuring that none of you on the other side of this camera knew what company I worked for. And now I'm getting ready to show you guys everything about it. I'm getting ready to show you what I done, what certifications I had for it, and even a day in the life. A couple weeks ago, I anticipated this happening and knew that I was this close to taking that step and removing myself from a toxic situation. And so I decided I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to bring a camera with me on just a regular day. I believe it was a Monday, and I worked about 13 and a half hours that day and wore several hats. Let's get to it. I know you guys are like, come on, tell me. All right, for the last 7 years, have been the Culligan man. All right. A little later than I usually leave, and a little more information than I usually let out. Morning, sir. Let me disarm this alarm real quick. All right. You just need 2 of them? Do you need a receipt? No. Okay. All right, I gotta go. Once the last dot on the left is gone, that's when it's time for filter change. It's James. Let me see where man is. Have you heard from them?
Yeah, he's not gonna be here until about 12:30.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he didn't leave till 10. So.
It's gonna put us behind again, man. Alright, let's do this service call. Doesn't seem like it even has any water going to it. Yeah, it'd be best if you backed in. So if you're coming lane, you kind of pass the store a little bit and then back in that way. I keep forgetting to pick up this camera. So I finished the other 2 service calls on the way back from the first one that was 2 hours away and realized that we're behind again on route. So I'm out here delivering some more bottles of water. At least it's a nice house. And my wife sent me a cute video of our little one. That always helps whenever I'm on these late nights again.
2 hours later.
Well, and the appointment's over. Now I get to drive home. Hey, I won't be there until 10 o'clock. So I was the general manager and actually ran the dealership that I worked for. Guy's got a spending problem, an attitude problem, an anger problem, a respect problem. And the reason that he was able to do me the way he did for as long as he did is it was a self-worth issue. And I think that he honed in on that. I think he knew that I'm a guy that just a year prior to becoming employed by him had been in a homeless shelter, had just been trying to pick up the pieces and get my life back together. And I think he's seen a guy that was willing to put up with a lot and do more than what the regular guy would. I think he just leaned into that, and he thought that I would never leave because, you know, this was all I had and he was the only place I could go to work for. And I hope that's not true, because like I said, I got a family to take care of, but I made that ultimate decision to get away from there. And I should say this, I want to clear this up, because there's going to be people say, well, you just quit your job? I mean, that's crazy. You just abruptly walked out and had no plan and wonder how you're going to pay your bills? No. I've been looking for a job for the last month. He called me on January 14th, and he talked to me like he had never talked to me before. Cussed me up one side and down the other, told me to park his truck, go home, and get the literally told me that. Said, and go home. And there was so much on my plate and so many people relying on me that I told him no. I said, I can't do that. I said, the people that would suffer from me just walking away right now because you're having another one of your temper tantrums doesn't help anybody. And so we kind of had a stalemate and just got off the phone and never spoke to each other again for another 3 weeks to a month. That was awkward. Going to work every day, being a general manager of a dealership, and you don't know if you actually still work there or not, that was fun. So I was looking for a place. Well, word got out that I was looking for a place, and this guy acted surprised and was like, oh, how dare you look for a place? So the day he found out, which was last Wednesday, which was February 4th, I believe, he found out that I was seeking employment, and he sent a guy down to my dealership to greet me there when I arrived first thing in the morning to tell me to get off the property and to turn in my laptop, my iPad, my keys, my cell phone, all of his belongings, which I said I'll turn them into him in person and he can give me my final check. Reason being is all the people who worked under me over the last 7 years, if they left under any circumstances that he didn't agree with, or there was a few of them that had the cojones and the bravery to tell him about himself, which I always envied, and I always was like, man, I wish I could do that. And I was so many nights I'd come home to my wife and I'd say, man, I just wish that I had the confidence and knew that our family would be taken care of and that I would find something else so that I could actually stand up for myself. Because when I tell you I was berated and talked to like a child and like I had no sense, I am not exaggerating whatsoever. There was so many times that him or his wife would just talk to me like an absolute dog. And no, I mean, there was never any kind of respect for what I had going on. I think a great example and when I should have really walked away is in late 2023 in October. A lot of people who follow me long enough know that I had broken my wrist, both bones in my wrist, and it needed surgery to be put back together, titanium plates and screws to put my wrist back together. It was one of the most painful things that I went through, and really hard as a man to be that helpless. I called my boss from the trauma center in Columbus, Ohio, where I was laying there waiting to get emergency surgery to get my wrist put back together because it was so bad my local hospital couldn't do it. And he said to me, I can't believe, with everything that we got going on and everything that I need you to do for me, that you would go and do this to yourself. To which I said, I didn't do this on purpose. You think I want to fall and break my own wrist just to miss work? And the reason being is because he had me responsible for so many layers of the business, which is what I'm going to get into next, that he physically couldn't afford for me to miss any work. It was a Saturday morning that I fell, and a Saturday evening when I finally made it by ambulance to the trauma center that I gave him a call to let him know what was going on. I left that trauma center prior to getting surgery and came back to work for this man until I could get the surgery done the following weekend. So I left there, and I was so brainwashed by this guy into thinking, if you're a man and you're the head of the house, there is no downtime. There's no time for being hurt. There's no excuses. I don't care if your wrist is broken in 2 different places. You put that thing in a little sling and you go back to work. And I thought that I was doing the right thing, and I thought, this is going to make our sons proud of me, the 3 boys that we're raising. So much so that I sent her this video. Letting go of the steering wheel and driving an 11-speed truck down the highway, commercial truck down the highway with a broken wrist. I mean, I was so convinced that that was the right thing to do. I never missed work for this guy. I never could. Even the night my father died, I missed 1 day for my father's passing. I've missed so much of my family. There's times that my wife had to go in for a major surgery, and we had to have somebody come in from out of town to be with her and to drive her home from being under anesthesia and all that, because I couldn't miss work. I borrowed my son's whiteboard here, and let me explain to you how a Culligan dealership works. A dealership consists of, at the very top, a general manager. So right under the general manager, there was a sales guy. Sorry if this is a little sloppy. This salesperson was responsible for going out and signing up new customers for our delivery service, which is 5-gallon jugs of water or salt or chemicals or coffee. Anything that we delivered, that we sold, this salesperson was responsible for going out and doing. And one of the main bread and butters of this salesperson job was to sell water softeners and reverse osmosis systems, UV lights, those sort of things in homes. That was the biggest part of a Culligan dealership, and a biggest part of our revenue was the salesperson going out in homes, mostly at night or first thing in the morning or on the weekends, because you work around their schedule. These are working people as well that really care about the water that they're consuming. They want somebody to come out. The best of the best is Culligan. So a salesperson would be the guy that would come out in your home, and he would do a test of your water in front of you. He would check your plumbing to make sure it was a good fit and that we could do the job, and then he would tell you the price and sell it to you. Who else is right below him? We need a installer. All right, the install guy. He's the guy that comes out, crawls under the crawl space, and installs the equipment that the salesperson sold. He's the one in the basement, a crawl space, sometimes an attic, and you plumb down if the house is on a slab. This is the guy that puts the reverse osmosis under the sink and ties it into the refrigerator. This installer is really important to this sales guy, right? So right below these two guys is you have a service tech and you have a delivery guy. All right, service tech is the guy, so when this equipment's installed that this salesperson sold under this general manager's watch, every year the filters need to be changed. Every so often something needs to be done, the system needs to be checked, it needs to be reprogrammed, whatever. This is what the service tech comes out and does. This delivery guy, he delivers the salt, and he also delivers the 5-gallon jugs of water. Most places will also have a backup delivery guy because there's so much water being delivered and salt being delivered by this one delivery guy that there's sometimes things that need to be picked up. You know, if somebody didn't leave their bottles out, it's kind of like the old milkman. You know, you leave your bottles out and they switch it out. You can have 20 to 30 stops that need to be made up. So a lot of these places have a backup guy, right? One other thing that was unique to our dealership, and some dealerships I'd say probably do the same thing, is that 5-gallon jugs of water that this guy delivers. That's a terrible 5. The 5-gallon jugs of water that this guy delivers and sometimes the backup guy delivers, it needs to be hauled in from the bottling plant. That bottling plant is 2.5 hours away up northeast Ohio. So in order to do that, we need a commercial truck driver. I know this is probably the most boring video you've ever seen me do, but this will make sense here in just a second, okay? The reason that I'm putting this together for you right now is because I want to show you the jobs that my boss, the owner of this dealership that I was managing for 7 years, had me doing, for the most part. Okay, so I was the GM. I was the acting salesperson. I was the only guy in the region certified to install. I was the only guy servicing any of the equipment. I was the backup driver. Yeah, and you guessed it. For you guys who thought that all I did was drive trucks for a living, I was the only one with a CDL. The fourth dealership that he just bought, he did own 3 for the last 6 years. In the last 6 months, he bought a 4th one that was in my territory that also didn't have an installer or a service tech. So I went out and did it. All for the one low price of a general manager salary. Now, ain't that great? Now, that's why I say you need to know your self-worth. You need to realize that that's not normal. Not normal at all. My normal day would consist of coming into the shop, opening everything up, forecasting for the day, taking a look at our inventory, figuring out everything we have, dealing with walk-in customers, and then checking if I had any leads come over the weekend or any sales appointments that week already set that I needed to prepare for. Make sure that I had the equipment for any installs that I had that week. And then in the meantime, squeeze in filter changes, people calling saying their old Culligan unit from 20 years ago ain't working right, now in a new territory, making sure my delivery guy had everything that he needed, and making sure that he's doing his daily checklists and everything, listening to his problems. You know, he's the delivery guy. I got a vacation coming up. Or, hey, my hours were messed up, boss. Hey, didn't you get that email about my I-9? I wanted to fix my taxes. They're not taking out enough taxes. And then I also had to, if I was low on bottles of water, these 5-gallon jugs of water, I need to forecast when am I going to drive this truck and when am I going to fit it in between doing this, and this. That was a daily occurrence for me. And here's the thing. I'm the kind of team player guy and was so thankful that I had a job and that I had a way to pay my mortgage and that I had a way to take care of my family that I was willing to do this until it fucking killed me. Until it absolutely put me into the dirt. And the only thing that I wanted was, of course, my paycheck every 2 weeks and just a teeny tiny bit of respect. I always did get my paycheck. I'll give him that one. But I also always made sure that I put $1,000 a month in the bank through sales and installed the shit myself and never had a callback on it. I never done anything on the plumbing that needed to go back, you know, a callback for to go fix it. So, you know, there was plenty of money to make sure they paid me, because we're not paying any of these other motherfuckers either. But all I wanted was to not be talked to like a dog. And this guy couldn't do it. Talk about looking a gift horse in the mouth. So in a haste to cleaning out my office, I want to show you some of the swag that I had. Look at this cool Colligan truck. Look at that little guy. Every year, Colligan Corporate out of Chicago would send all the general managers a little something for Christmas, something small like that. But here's the first certificate. Let me make sure there's no phone numbers on this. This certifies that James Horner can install this stuff. Has attended the Colligan Household Service Training School, satisfactory completed course, installing, servicing, and troubleshooting Colligan Household Softener, filtration of drinking water. That was on the 12th day, December 2019. This is when I completed dealer school. 2023, May of 2023, I went up to the Chicago location, went through all the schooling and learned everything that you need to know to run a successful dealership, even though I'd been doing it for a couple years at that point. And this is the most recent one. Even though I'd been in sales and being the active sales guy for as long as I was, we didn't get my actual sales license until mid-year 2025 because there was no time for me to do it. It's just a picture of my class and everybody that these are big industrial units, new school that opens in your area. If you're ever allowed in the boiler room or the mechanical room, a lot of the new schools, a lot of people are getting hip to how bad the water is and the real need for filtration. So I'm glad to hear that a lot of schools are on board with filtering their water. So anyway, not only was I responsible for all those things that I'd done for this man, and he just sat back and collected a check. Whatever we grossed for the month, after we paid our bills at my store and paid my guys, he would just take his and you'd never see him. The man literally never showed up, never walked in the door, unless like maybe once a year. At first I took that as a good thing, and I thought, man, this guy trusts me so much and has so much faith in me to run his store that like he doesn't even show up. He doesn't even check on me. I would have guys that worked for me for an entire calendar year and had never met the actual owner of the place. I had a lot of people think that I owned the place just because of how much was done by me. A great example of this is June 2024. My lease was up at the building that I was originally in, and my boss didn't want to renew that lease. He thought it was too expensive. He didn't like the building. He didn't like the location. So he told me, hey, you need to find a new building. You need to relocate the store. You need to find a new place. And he'd present these things as if they were normal. As if, yeah, that's what GMs do. Don't you know? No. This was the first time I was ever a general manager in my life. When I walked in the door to work for this guy, I just wanted to be a service guy. I just wanted to do my job, go home, enjoy my family. But it was out of necessity. I seen so many people get chewed up and spit out by this guy. So many red flags looking back now. And I seen it happen, and I just kind of wanted to believe that maybe those guys just weren't cut out for it. One of them almost fist fought him because they were like, I'm not going to be disrespected and talked to like that. You want me to manage your store and manage your people? I'll manage your store and manage your people, but I'm not doing all this other shit. You know, I'm not here to be a delivery guy. I'm not here to be a sales guy. I'm not here to be a service guy. I'm here to be a manager. And that was the thing, is like I would, as a manager, you could put out an ad and you could interview several people in whatever time you found to do that. And then you would present it all to the owner and say, add him to the books. And they would say, no, we can't afford it right now. That's what you get from me. You can't afford it right now. Back to what I was saying. June 2024, all of a sudden, on top of all these other things that I'm doing, I need to find us a new store. And commercial property is a whole different ballgame. It's a whole different animal than residential real estate. But somehow I managed to find a commercial building. It used to be a carpet place, and I went back and forth with the realtor. We met several occasions. We managed to get it figured out, and then all he did was sign the paperwork, and I was able to secure a location. Well, then I had to move into it and still operate the business at the same time, to which I guess I mistakenly thought, well, he'll show up with a cavalry at some point, right? He'll just pull up one morning after we've signed the paperwork and we know for sure we're moving. Surely he's going to show up one day with moving trucks, or he's going to hire a company, something, right? No. He said, James, you need to get moved over there, man. You're the manager. Figure it out. And thankfully, I had a commercial license and a flatbed truck. So we, in between customers and in between things and deliveries and all that, I moved the entire place over there. Contacted the electric company. I even put the damn water in my name so that we can get the water on there and the guys could use the damn bathroom. The place was not a Culligan dealership. It needed things. There was no place to sanitize coolers. One of the main parts of our business is these coolers that we rent, that you put a 5-gallon jug on top of. Well, those have to be sanitized and rotated out. And there was no cleaning station so he said, well, build one. Literally said to build one. And I'm in this commercial building where there's no floor drains, and the only drain in the building is the bathroom off of my office. And I'll overlay pictures here of where I had to remove my toilet, cut the hole in the wall to tie into that 4-inch drain, and then outside of that wall into the warehouse side, build a platform because drain has to go down, right? Drain water has to run down at an angle. I built a platform, like an indoor deck, to make a washing station on top of all those other jobs that I showed you. And God forbid anything got behind. I mean, if he got an email from a customer saying, hey, my service didn't get done or my delivery was delayed, he would climb down my neck so fast to reprimand me. And it never made sense to me. And those are the days that I'd come home the most stressed and go, what does this guy want from me? How am I supposed to build an indoor cooler cleaning station from scratch and also make it to every service call? It was way too much. And I know this is an extreme version of it, but like I said, if somebody's out there getting taken advantage of similar to this, just trust in God and walk away from it. I don't know if I'm going to make it or not. I'm going to give it my all. I know if I go to any other company owned by somebody that has some common sense and respect for other human beings, then I'm going to be all right. I have to be, because I wasn't all right there. And that place was going to kill me. And any health problems I had wasn't going to get solved because he didn't offer health insurance either. That was the other kicker, is you go through all that and you don't even get health insurance. I already know there's going to be a lot of comments of saying, well, you were dumb for putting up with this as long as you did. And that's fair. You're 100% right. I should have never let that go on as long as I did. And again, the only reason I did was because I had a family to take care of and I had a self-worth issue. I didn't think that I could go anywhere else. Much like there was no cooler cleaning station there or no help to build one or any other outside source of support. We also, the front of the building was just a concrete slab. And he said, man, we need a conference room here. We need an office up here. And we need to take advantage of this space. And, figure this out, James. And I framed walls for just, you know, not full to the ceiling walls. I don't know what I'm doing. And these pictures that I'm overlaying probably look like shit. And some carpenter's probably like, man, that's terrible. But I'm overlaying them to prove a point here. That on top of everything else that I had to do, I was also the remodeler of this place. And I framed these walls, sheetrocked them, mudded them, sanded them, painted them. Had a little bit of help. And I laid down carpet in there and made it look like a presentable Culligan dealership. Also, the awning out front was bright fucking red. Nothing about Culligan is red. That needs to be blue, James. I called and got a quote on it. He said absolutely not. Can't you paint it yourself? So, of course, I painted it myself. I should have said this earlier when I was talking about the fact that I'm the only one with a commercial license for 3 years driving that truck. But we needed a truckload of water twice a week. Twice a week, I had to make a 6-hour round trip. And most days, unload it, reload it myself, because there was nobody up there. You know, you think truck driver, well, they get to pull in, and somebody unloads and reloads them. No. And it would get so bad other days that this guy that doesn't belong owning a business would run his mouth and do that thing that he does and run off the guy in the bottling plant that actually bottles this shit, that bottles 300 jugs, 5-gallon jugs of water to have them ready for me. I would pull in that gate at 8 o'clock in the morning after driving 2.5 hours and be told, not only do you have to load and unload it yourself, but you also need to go in there and bottle it. Another bottling guy quit. Don't know why. I mean, I knew why. But I would do it. I would go in there and bottle my own water and then bring it back down to my store so that we could get that shit delivered, man. It's the most insane thing you've ever seen. Skeleton crew. And a guy that just wanted to maximize every dollar that he put in his pocket. Back in the face to the people that worked hard for this guy. And I know I'm missing a lot, but this video is already going to be way too long as it is. He called me January 14th and started unleashing the worst barrage of cuss words and demeaning. I've never been talked to. I mean, he had said some slick shit over the years, but he had never, ever been this bad. And so much so that I pulled over the side of the road and recorded it with my other phone. I'm sick of your shit. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of that. I should have let him have it. I should have been like, you know what, sucker? As much as I've done for you over this last 7 years, and you're talking to me this way, I started looking for a job. But I made it a point not to say anything negative to the guys. I didn't want anybody freaking out. I didn't want anybody worried of me leaving and then they make a decision to leave or anything like that happen. So I just kept my head down. I just kept pushing and I started looking for a job. And one other guy that I thought I could trust, that is a driver and a service guy at another location, I confided in him on Tuesday morning, which would have been the 3rd. And I said, hey man, I'm looking for a place, you know, to go to, because I've never been so disrespected. Well, this guy told the owner, and the owner, like a complete jackass, can't accept the thought of somebody going somewhere else, had me escorted off the property, and told me to come up there to get my last check. As I'm on my way to go get my last check and turn in his computer and all that stuff, 5 other people walk off on him. 5 other people find out what he had done to me, how he had me escorted off the property for simply saying that I was looking for another job. They walked out. I didn't know this. I get to the main location, I put a camera on my chest to protect myself because this guy's a loose cannon. He's cussing, screaming, you know, he's kicking shit around, just throwing a fit. I get out of the car, I walk up, there's a guy standing out front I've never met before. He'd only been working at that location for less than a month, maybe a month at the most. I get out, I say to him, hey, how's it going? And he says this. How's it going?
It's going. On the phone.
Alright, is he in there?
Yeah, he's on the phone.
Alright.
So I'm waiting on so I can hand him this so he can reimburse me for putting diesel in his own truck, and then he can print my last paycheck and he can suck my ass.
Are you quitting?
Yeah. This place is
Yeah, he informs me that he's waiting to get reimbursed for some money that he had to spend on fuel or whatever, and that he's gonna tell him to kiss his ass, he's out. And I was like, oh, dang, okay. So I'm thinking to myself, wow, there's another person who's quitting. And he walks up to the owner to tell him that he's gonna quit. And the owner unleashes on me and says that I done that.
Because of him? God damn you motherfuckers. Seriously, you had to do it to him too?
This is the first time I met him.
Bullshit. You met him the other day.
I did not meet him the other day.
I've never met this guy in my life.
You want to know why I'm being honest with you?
Right, because he can't take accountability. And this guy was also another person that was willing to give it right back to him and said this.
Quit years ago.
Sometimes the hardest thing is to look yourself in the mirror, but I've never met this man in my life.
Well, I'm just
Still
saying,
10 minutes ago.
listen, I saw you guys out there talking.
No, because
thinking you were
I
gonna
seen him walk out
quit.
there.
It's usually what happens with James.
Yeah, he said sometimes it's hard to look into the mirror. But he was vehemently denying the fact that I convinced him to quit. And how could I? I've never met the guy. And he made sure to say that. He said, I've never met this guy a day in my life. And the guy walks around saying, you want to get grandma to quit too? Because there's an old lady that works up there. Walks around the office telling people, hey, James is on a roll. He's got everybody to quit. Because the guy can't take any kind of accountability, right? So here we are. I'm looking for a job, looking for something better. I have experience doing a lot of things. Including managing, but yeah, man, one of the hardest pills to swallow the last few days to a week, however long it's been. I think today's the 8th, so it's been about 4 days. The hardest thing about this is just swallowing that pill of knowing I've wasted 7 years of my life, knowing that I gave that guy some of the best years of my life. I'm 40 years old now, and just knowing that I could have done that somewhere else, and I could be 7 years in on a great career right now. And I have nobody to blame but myself for that. Even though this guy is a train wreck of a human being, can't take responsibility for anything, just absolutely has no respect for anybody. That was a self-worth issue. That was a me problem. I seen the red flags, but I thank you guys. I don't know how long this video is going to end up being, but I thank you guys. If you made it to this point, I really appreciate it. There's a lot more that I can share. Being a Colligan man for 7 years, I'm sure I have some videos and pictures of my journey. If you yourself are a Colligan man somewhere, this isn't a reflection of Colligan. They're a great company. Again, like I said, please don't take it upon yourself to try to find the dealership that I was running and call them and bother them. The people who didn't walk out the day I did, which wasn't many, are probably under a lot of stress right now and do not need that. I appreciate you listening.